All right, so today we're gonna review an iBuyPower pre-built PC. And I got this at Walmart on sale for $1,000. It was just before Christmas when I got it, and it normally retails for about $1,600. And so I thought I'd pick it up and take a look at it and see what the build quality is like, and check out the performance on it, and do a review on it. And you know, interestingly enough, it looks like it's a white PC, but I bought a black one, so we'll find out once we crack this thing open, and we'll take a look at it and see if it's worth the $1,000 I paid for it, and more importantly, if it's worth the $1,600 that it retails for. So stick with me and we'll figure it out. All right, I'll be right back. All right, let's start with the unboxing and everything and see how that goes and see what we've got in here. I'm a little bit excited to see if it's an actual white build, because I paid for a black build. But if it's a white build and it's got, as it implies, a white GPU, that's kind of a bonus, because I've been kind of looking for a good deal for a white GPU lately. So let's take a look. All right, look at all the stuff. Put this box over here. Do not return to the store. Should you encounter any difficulties with your new computer, please contact our esteemed customer support team for prompt assistance. That does not bode well. For frequently asked questions, yada, yada, yada. That's interesting that they do that. All right, a little quick start guide. Okay, here's a little Ziploc bag. Looks like it's got power cable. Love gaming, power the win. I'm wondering if that's like a sticker or something. Another free gift promo. Audio jack splitter. Looks like an extra M.2 screw. Some extra motherboard screws, Wi-Fi antenna, and a SATA cable. Chimera KM7 RGB keyboard and mouse combo. So we'll take a look at the quality of that as well. Looks like it's the black version, which is unfortunate. I was hoping for the white version, but you know, it's what I bought, so it's what I should expect. Ouch. All right, so looks like they've got everything packed in there pretty well. Remove this sticker before use. Use video ports below display. So in other words, it's pointing down here, but it's on a vertical mount, so it's actually over here, not here, which is, you know, you'd think that they angle it down there because there's nothing right there. All right, so let's take that off. Looks like it just pops out. And we got, that's hilarious. So this is the instructions on removing the side panel, which I already did. I do like the fact that it's got this little Velcro strap to help stabilize the GPU. It's got even a little styrofoam buffer piece right there, which is great. I guess you could technically use that as a GPU support bracket kind of thing if you wanted to. But this is a lighter weight 4070. It's 2-fan. Looks like a Zotac gaming 4070. And so, yeah, it probably won't need a GPU support, but I do kind of like that Velcro strap there. Although it is sitting kind of loose, so it wasn't really doing anything. Not as secure as you'd like it to be. So it looks like it also comes with integrated Wi-Fi, which is nice. All right, so let's check to see if everything's connected. Looks like everything's connected. We're gonna take this out. Looks like everything is connected. I don't see anything loose. Okay, looks like everything's routed nicely. Obviously, you know, you gotta put the cables somewhere, so, you know, this is a normal looking thing, but the cable management seems to be okay. I don't see anything wrong with it. Why don't we benchmark it and take it for a test spin and see how it does. So let's power it on. All right, we're gonna load into BIOS real quick because I wanna check some settings in there before we load into the PC. Looks like the motherboard is B650MC version 3.06. There's our 16 gig of RAM at about 5200 megahertz. And there's the Ryzen 7700. We're on a performance preset of auto. Thermal throttle's on auto, CPU overclock's auto. Looks like everything's on auto. Looks like it's not set to expo, although all the readings are the same, but let's turn expo on. Affinity Fabric is on. Okay, CPU temp's at 37, so that's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I'd like to see it around like 30 to 35, but you know, 37 is acceptable. Our BIOS is kind of bare bones looking, but you know. All right, let's put it into the system. Just so you know, I removed the SSD that came with the system and installed mine because it's already got software on it, so it's just faster that way than spending hours loading up games. Okay, looks like we don't have any errors. There's the 4070. Looks like everything's looking good. The fans are at full speed right now, or at least it sounds like it. I don't know if you can hear it, but they're going at full blast right now. Let's bring up hardware monitor and see what we're dealing with here. Okay, temperatures look fine. Everything looks good. Looks like we only have a single stick of RAM, which I hate. Kind of lessens the value of this PC. 2 sticks of RAM in channel 2 and 4 are ideal. Let's run some games and see what we get. Right, take note, we're at 34 on the GPU and we're at 37 on the CPU. All right, we're gonna keep the sound off. I need to go find somebody to kill. All right, so this is 1080p, so doing pretty good. A decent chunk over 100 FPS. Looks like my average is around 92. Looks like this game's capping me out on 1080p. Yeah, I'm capped out at 60 FPS at 1080p, which is a good sign. So let's try something else. Let's try, I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2 for a while, so let's try that. Everything's on ultra and high except for particle quality. Let's put that on high. Right, so looks like on a busy street. Like we're capped out at 60 FPS again. I think it's the monitor more than anything else that's doing that. All right, so there we have it. Capping out all over the place. I did forget to run the benchmark on Cyberpunk, so let's do that. All right, so let's run the benchmark. Looks like we did an average of 121 FPS on high settings at 1080p native. So that's actually pretty good. This system's actually running pretty well. So let's do the next thing. Let's do some synthetic benchmarks. While we're at it, let's check to see how the 7700 did. Looks like we max out at 72 Celsius. 7 of the 8 cores ran at capacity, but the 8th core did not. So that's interesting. All right, GPU maxed out at 66C. We did have a hotspot on at 80, but that's not too concerning. All right, so let's do a couple of synthetic benchmarks. Yeah, Cinebench R23 looks like I didn't really hit above 62C on that, so that's actually a pretty good sign. And 18,525 points on R23 is pretty respectable, so pretty happy with that. Let's do 4K optimized. All right, pretty good results for 4K optimized at nearly almost 85 on the minimum, 102 FPS on average, maxed out at 132, almost 133. So yeah, that's pretty good. All right. So far so good on the system. Let's take a look at the build quality. So I went through this PC. I feel pretty thoroughly, probably not as thoroughly as other people on YouTube might have. Like for instance, Steve from Gamers Nexus would probably done a whole lot better job than I did. But this is my first go at tearing apart a pre-built and figuring out whether or not it's worth it. So what I did was I wrote down a bunch of notes. So I don't like using scripts. I like just talking off the top of my head, as you probably already know on a lot of my other videos. But I wanted to make sure that I covered everything that I found, and there's a lot of notes. So I wanted to make sure I'm as thorough as possible. All right. All right, so let's start with going into BIOS right from the go. So the date and time was set, I think it was January 2nd of this year was the date that was on there, and it was also behind by about 4 hours, so I had to reset that. The BIOS version, it's for a ASRock B650M-C motherboard, and the BIOS version was a 3.06 version, which was about 4 versions back, or 5 versions, because there's 4 newer versions after that. The latest one being 3.15. So 3.06 came out in July of this year, and 3.15 came out in December of this year. So I updated the BIOS on that. Also, after I went into BIOS, and so the RAM overclocking was defaulted at auto, and it had a couple of other presets for XMP and Expo, and then I had set it for XMP Profile 1, which was for the 5200 megahertz setting. And then I had set some fan speeds and things like that. Most of the overclocking and all that stuff was all set on auto and performance mode and things like that, so I wasn't too concerned with that stuff. The fan speeds were too high. The fans were all set on auto, which I found interesting, so I set them on PWM, and that seemed to help. The interesting thing was when the fans were set on auto, they were also set on silent mode, not standard mode, but the fans were going at full speed the entire time, and so I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, after I had reset it to PWM and to standard mode, the fans calmed down a little bit and seemed to be a little more manageable from a sound standpoint. The SSD has no heatsink on it, nor does it have a thermal pad. It's a Western Digital SN580, and that's a 1 terabyte. And it has about, I think it was max 4150 read speed, and it's a Gen 4 drive, which is a decent drive. Nothing wrong with that drive. The GPU is a Zotac Twin Gaming OC, I think it was called, RTX 4070, and that performed well, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. It's on a riser cable that comes with the Y40 case. I don't recall if you have to order the height riser for it, but it does come with the height riser cable on it for the vertical mounting. The RAM is a single stick of RAM in the second channel, or the second DIMM slot. It's a ADATA XPG Lancer 5200 megahertz DDR5. Kind of disappointed that iBuyPower decided to do a single stick of RAM instead of 2 8 gig sticks. As a matter of fact, when I looked up the cost of this single stick of 16, it seemed to cost more, at least at the retail level, than 2 sticks of 8. So I don't know why iBuyPower, maybe they had just a bunch sitting around doing nothing, and they needed to put them in the system or something. But it was a little disappointed that they went with single stick instead of 2. Mostly because you just get better performance from 2 sticks rather than a single stick of RAM, especially when it comes to gaming or productivity stuff. And so, yeah, it was a little disappointing. The fans, the side fans, there's 2 120s in there, and I thought it would have probably closed up some of those gaps and made it look fuller instead of as empty as it kind of looks, and a little open slotted with the 2 120s had they done 2 140s instead, and even possibly some reverse blade fans or something like that for a better look and feel. The cables On the side of the motherboard right here, they look a little rat's nesty, you know. I think maybe they could have done a better job with that, and I'm going to circle back to that here in a little bit. The AIO, I think, would have been, it might have been better to put the AIO on the side mount right there rather than on top, mostly because, and we could have changed that to intake and put the two 120s up here as exhaust, and that would in effect not change a whole lot from a thermal standpoint. But at the same time, it would be a little more pleasing to the eye, I think, if the hoses didn't droop down and kind of get in the way of the rest of the inside from a visual and aesthetic standpoint. It looks kind of droopy and saggy right there, sitting like that. And so I didn't really like that. I would have rather had the hoses come from the bottom and kind of swoop up over here. So yeah, I didn't really like that. The PCIe cable for the GPU kind of looks a little ragged. I think it would have been better had they used like an extension cable, especially a sleeved one. This just doesn't look good at all. It's not pleasing at all to the eye. It just looks weird. Looks like tentacles are coming out of the top of the GPU, but I guess, you know, some people might like that. I don't know. The front panel looks like it's got two USB 2.0s, mostly because they're black instead of blue. So I don't think it's USB 3.0s. I didn't test them out for read-write speeds to verify, but it looks like they're 2.0s. And the USB Type-C is a 3.2 Gen 1, which is a 5 gigabits per second port. But there is a 3.2 Gen 2 10 gigabit Type-C port on the back. There's also a 3.2 Gen 2 10 gigabit Type-A port on the back. And there's a couple of 3.2 Gen 1 5 gigabit Type-A ports on the back as well. So there's that. I mean, the I/O on the back plate isn't bad, especially for the tier of the motherboard that was put in here, which is again that ASRock B650M-C. And while on the subject of the I/O on the back, it does have integrated Wi-Fi, but this is a slightly older motherboard, and so it only has Wi-Fi 5. It doesn't have Wi-Fi 6 or 6E or 7. It's got Wi-Fi 5. So that's a little disappointing that they're still selling newer gen PCs with Wi-Fi 5. It does have a BIOS flashback button on the back, which is kind of nice. It's a little hard to read with the I/O plate because, you know, it's just hard to read because it's silver and all that stuff. But while on that subject, the sticker that was on there that was pointing down to the supposed VGA ports on the back of the GPU, which it wasn't because it's vertically mounted now, so it was pointing down to a bunch of brackets. But anyways, the sticker that was there on the I/O shield kind of left a residue, like a gummy residue, and so it kind of made it look like crap. That glue that they're using is a little bit on the strong side. I'd suggest using more of like the peel type stickers that you find on new GPUs and stuff like that, rather than something like that, because yeah, that's horrible, because somebody's going to have to, whoever buys these PCs and gets one of those, they're going to have to try to clean that stuff, and you know, if they don't know what they're doing, they could try to clean it with the wrong liquid, right? And that gets into one of those ports. Now we got problems. So yeah, didn't like that. The power supply, the power button on the back, it came with the power button switched on in the on position instead of the off position. And I guess I could kind of justify that in that a decent number of people won't necessarily know to switch that to the on position before powering on the PC once everything's plugged in. So up to an extent, I get that, but I'd prefer that power switch to be in the off position, not in the on position. Just from an overall safety and standards kind of approach, I mean, when I turn off my PC, I always turn off the power supply to the off position. And so my preference is when a PC is off, it's that switches in the off position. But that might be just, let me know in the comments if what you guys prefer, because that might be just my personal preference. Other than that, it came advertised with a 700 watt 80 plus gold power supply, but what's actually in here is a 80 plus gold 750 watt Raidmax RX 750 AE power supply is in there, not a 700 watt. So that was kind of a nice bonus to see. Maybe they ran out of the 700 watt power supplies and they had a bunch of these, and so they stuck that in there. Looking at it, it does go up to 750 watts on the 12 volt rail, which is always good to see. And then circling back to the cable management stuff, on the back, the cable management was actually pretty good. I was happily surprised to see they did a really good job there. But looking at it, it kind of makes me think that this looks messy between the fan and the motherboard, because there's a fan hub controller right around here, and so there's not a whole lot of room for the cables that are going down to move them around and make some room. If that hub was capable of being positioned further deeper towards this side, then I think the cable management might have looked nicer right here. So I found that to be interesting, but there didn't seem to be a decent place to mount it, at least with screws. So if you wanted to reposition it, you might have to drill new holes just to facilitate that. And so maybe that's why they did it the way they did it. Oh, also going back to the power supply, the bottom right screw was about almost like a 3/4 turn loose. So there was that. The fans, the side mount fans, all those screws, every single one of those screws, all 8 of them, were about a 1/2 turn loose. Other than that, everything else, the cables and the screws were all secure. So not as concerning. I mean, 1/2 turn, an argument can be made, but you want that stuff secure, because if it's in any way loose, that could create sound from vibrations, right? And so you want it as secure as possible. Not like hyper tighten, but snug. You shouldn't be able to turn it a 1/2 turn. And then finally, the keyboard and the mouse. The keyboard is your standard branded keyboard that's wired. It's fine. It's completely serviceable. The keys are a little on the squishy side, so I think they're gel caps. The mouse similarly is your standard wired branded gaming mouse. It's got some side thumb buttons, and it clicked around fine. The clicks were a little on the less clicky side as well. It felt soft. I don't know if I'm coming across correctly on that, but it felt kind of soft. That's pretty much everything I found on it. From a performance standpoint, it did pretty decent. The cost, right? And whether or not it's worth the $1,000. So I did a PC part picker, and I'm going to call that up here. I took a look at all the components that went into this pre-built system. What I found was that I couldn't find the RAID Max power supply, so I had to change that out, and I took a shot at the cost of a Microsoft Windows 11 Home version, because you know, you buy it at retail at 120 bucks, but I only put a $30 price tag on that. The AIO is a 240 mil, so I used a Thermalright 240 mil in comparison from a cost standpoint. I was happy to find out that if I bought all these components today and put this PC together, it would have ran me before tax over $1,400, and after tax it would be over $1,500, right? So it being on sale for $1,000, that's a pretty good deal. I saved probably over 450 bucks, I think it was, after tax. And it was free shipping, obviously. It came straight to me. I didn't have to go to Walmart to pick it up. So yeah, pretty good value, actually. All things considered, I think this was a win for iBuyPower and Walmart. I think it's a good solid performing PC at a good solid price, with a cost savings of about more than $400. Kind of tough to beat that, right? So yeah, pretty decent. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this PC and the parts and the performance, and what the value is on how you see the value of this PC versus the actual cost of $1,000. Now, if this PC were selling for $1,600 retail right now, I would not buy it. I wouldn't buy it at $1,500 retail. I probably wouldn't even buy it at $1,400 retail. $1,300 retail, I'd probably consider buying this system. Of course, then again, once all the prices change in the new year, who knows what that's going to be like. So yeah, again, let me know down in the comments what you think about this. And if you want me to do more PC reviews, pre-builts or otherwise, let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to start checking some other stuff out. All right, till next time, thanks for joining me.